We're officially through the first week of the NBA season, and it has been a whirlwind of action already. We've seen some thrilling matchups, stunning upsets, and of course those early season stand-up performances that have everyone buzzing. Tonight, we're going to be talking about early MVP frontrunners, which coaches have been superior or inferior, and teams that have stood out so far for better or worse. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Tonight. I'm Alec Brown, joined alongside Monso, Manfra, and Michael Hession. And guys, let's dive right into some early MVP predictions. Which players are already putting up MVP numbers and catching your guys' eyes?
See, I won't put up a couple of MVPs, but I want to highlight some guys that have played exceptionally well. I want to give an honorable mention to Dennis Schroeder. He's been playing so well for the Brooklyn Nets. But I want to talk about that man right there, Chet Holmgren. He has been everywhere for OKC. In an especially thin front court, without Chet Holmgren, they have no center. And he's been doing it. He's outplayed Jokic on the road. He outplayed Victor Wembanyama, who only allowed 6 points. And he's just been everywhere. The stock market is flowing. He has 3.5 blocks on the season, or 3.5 blocks per game, excuse me. And he just looks unstoppable and is leading this OKC defense to new heights.
I think when you look at the MVP candidates so far at the beginning of the season, I know the Warriors fan of me does not want to admit this, but so far the MVP has been Anthony Davis. He has averaged 32 points a game, leads the league in scoring, and the Lakers right now are off to a 4-2 start. And so far he has benefited from J.J. Redick's new implemented system. However, that could be a curse because the closer we get to the playoffs come, February, March, and April, teams are going to start to play the Lakers differently, and it's going to be up to J.J. Redick to make adjustments on the fly. And this is the thing about the Lakers. They have talent, especially with LeBron James and Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, et cetera, et cetera. The thing for them is if they keep this up, which I don't know if they can, especially given how packed the Western Conference is. If they keep this up along with Anthony Davis, who knows what could happen.
Well, some great picks. Obviously, Chet's an up-and-coming star. Number 6 in MVP voting right now. Number 3 for Anthony Davis. They're both probably some of the best players on their given teams. But now let's talk about coaches. I know you talked about J.J. Redick for a second, but guys, which coaches are making the biggest impact early? And then obviously on the flip side, what coaches are already on the hot seat for you guys? Massimo, take it away.
Now, see, I feel like it's somewhat unfortunate because really, Coach of the Year, you have to have a top 5 win team in basketball. But I really want to highlight the Brooklyn Nets again. We talked about Dennis Schroeder. Let's talk about Jordi Fernandez. He has the Brooklyn Nets playing at a level that is incredible. I mean, did we really expect much from the Nets? They're playing very fun, very solid basketball, and it looks like that team has bought in to Jordi Fernandez, a coach who has experience in this Olympics. He did lead Team Canada and had led them well, but this Brooklyn Nets team looks exceptional. You want to know who doesn't look exceptional, though? It's Doc Rivers. This Bucks team looks bad. And how can you say that when you have Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo sharing a court? And it's been that way since Doc Rivers showed up in Milwaukee. I mean, one win it took for him to be named the All-Star Game head coach last year. He has done nothing. He's 19-25 as the Bucks head coach, and it honestly looks worse than that record suggests.
I think when you look at a coach that stood out a lot, I think it's Kenny Atkinson. I wasn't a fan of Cleveland firing J.B. Bickerstaff last year because I thought it was more of a power struggle move, but the players have bought into the style of play that Atkinson has, and having been the coach in Brooklyn for a few years, he did really well there, but unfortunately, he got fired because of a power play move by Katie and Kyrie saying that they didn't necessarily need a coach to succeed. And when you look at the Cavs this year, they're undefeated so far. They're still playing right now, but Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen, Darius Garland, they have stood out in a big way. And for the coach that that is on the hot seat, I know this is kind of out of left field, but I would say Tom Thibodeau. When you think about it, the Knicks traded 7 first-round picks. Yes, I said 7 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns.
Now, see, I understand the first-round picks, but is that really on Tom Thibodeau or is that on the front office?
Here's the point I'm going to make. If he can't get out of the second round, which the Knicks haven't gotten out of it in 24 years, I could see a serious change happen if they don't go far, especially considering that James Dolan, who also owns the New York Rangers, did the same thing in 2023 when they lost to the New Jersey Devils in the first round of the Stanley Cup Finals. And that was a team that traded for Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko at the trade deadline. So if something similar like this happens to the Knicks that happened to the Rangers, it would not surprise me one bit if James Dolan ends up firing Thibodeau and goes for a new voice in that locker room.
It doesn't help that Tom Thibodeau just keeps his players out there for entire games.
Well, I mean, he's been like that his entire career, from when he was in Chicago, from when he had that small stint in Minnesota. That's just something we've seen him do all the time, and maybe it's time to just get him home. But finally, let's look at what teams have been standing out so far and what teams have already been in trouble. And Michael, we'll start with you this time.
I think the team that stood out the most so far is the Golden State Warriors. Everyone said in the offseason that when they lost Klay Thompson that it would be hard for them to recover. So far, that has not been the case. I mean, this is a team that has thrived, especially with their bench. Buddy Hield has played well coming off the bench. You have Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. Steph Curry's injured, and they've put up 3 separate games where they've had a 30-point lead at one point of the game. And I know they've had a relatively easy schedule, and they still have to play the Celtics this week, but that is a major, major sign of improvement. The team that is underwhelming, I think, in my opinion, is the Milwaukee Bucks. And I know Moose made a good point about Doc Rivers, but to me, their issues go well beyond him. And the reason I say that is because ever since Mark Lasry sold his portion of the team to Jimmy Haslam in 2023, it has been downhill ever since. Ownership has basically ripped apart everything that made them great, and it's just been baffling because, like, you fire Mike Budenholzer, you trade away Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, and from how I see it, like, they should not be in this situation right now. And the question we're going to have at the trade deadline is not only what should they do with Giannis, but the debate of whether Haslam is one of the worst owners in all of sports. And from how I see it, he's learned nothing from his time with the Cleveland Browns.
And personally, I think that the Oklahoma City Thunder are a team to look out for. I mean, this defense is incredible. It's something that we haven't seen in 15 plus years. Their defensive rating, they have 4 of the top defensive rating by players in basketball. They are getting so many steals and blocks a game, and they're undefeated while they aren't shooting the basketball well. Once their shots are falling, what is the ceiling for the Oklahoma City Thunder? And they're still the youngest team in basketball. On the other side, in the Eastern Conference, a disappointing team, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. What are you doing? Like, going into this season, Joel Embiid has basically already conceded that he was going to miss a third of the games this year already. Paul George, not much better. And how can you really just rest that much and expect to make the playoffs and expect to win when you're not even playing the game that you're getting paid to play? Like, Tyrese Maxey is putting on his best James Harden impression, and he doesn't look like MVP James Harden. He's trying, but when you have 3 superstars and are only seeing one of them each night, that's a recipe for disaster and not success. So they need to hit the cold tub and get right back out there. Otherwise, playoff basketball might not be coming to Philadelphia.
Well, I mean, they've been having this problem their entire time in Philadelphia, especially under Daryl Morey. They bring in all this talent. You surround Joel Embiid with such great players every single season. They try something new. Obviously, James Harden didn't work. Now they're trying Paul George. We haven't even seen Paul George yet in the regular season, so it might just be the same old story for Philadelphia. Get to the first or second round, and that's all she wrote. That is all the time we have for tonight. There is so much for the NBA season to come, and so much can happen week to week and obviously over a full season. So thank you so much for tuning into Penn State Sports Night. For Massimo, Manfra, and Michael Hession, I'm Alec Brown, wishing you a wonderful rest of your week.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.